All right, this is Jim Johnson from Warren, Minnesota. He was in the Army from 56 to 1958. And Jim, you want to let us know how everything began for you?
Well, I volunteered for the draft because I was going to be drafted just before seeding was going to start, and so I thought, well, I just soon go in early and get out a little earlier. So I volunteered for the draft, and I was what.
So when you were drafted, Jim, was there anybody else that you knew at the same time that went in at the same time as you?
No, I didn't, because I was drafted, and then we had to. They took us on a bus to Fargo, and then from there we went to our basic training.
Where'd you take basic training at?
Fort Chaffee, Arkansas.
Oh wow, you went south.
Yep.
Okay. And what was basic training like for you?
Well, I kind of enjoyed it because I like that kind of stuff, and I was have to say that I was well treated the whole time I was in the military, to the point where I even considered staying in the military. But then my dad had polio, and so he was crippled up. So he just said, well, if you want to farm, you're going to have to make a choice now. You know, if you want to stay in the military, stay. But if you want to farm, you're going to have to make that your priority.
So what was basic? I mean, what did you do in basic at that time? That's a while ago.
Yeah, well, we had firearms training, of course, which was and I worked with that afterwards somewhat too, because I ran the PA system for the rifle range. I moved.
Yeah, there you go.
I was trying to get up so I could see you. Okay. No, I was treated well the whole time I was in the military, and I started out at Fort Chaffee, and then went to.
So you're still in basic, and what you did rifle range, and,
Yeah.
at that time did they have like gas masks and
No, matter of
crawling
fact,
under barbed wire or anything like that?
well, we had to crawl under the barbed wire, and on our bellies, and that was part of the basic training.
Did they have like live fire, like machine gun fire?
They said it was live, and you could, but I think they were shooting. I think there were some blanks, and then right at the end, after everybody. But they did shut down the range because we had one fellow. He was a little bit short upstairs, and so he started crawling through. Then he decided, he got up, and of course they had to shut down the whole thing then, and explained to him he just can't do that with it. They just finally just.
Did he get hit?
No. So it was. But I was treated well all through basic training, and I kind of like.
How was the food?
What was that?
How was the food?
The food was really not very good to start with. It was really bad, and we got everything was rice. We got rice, and then we got a new sergeant came in. Sergeant Hurd was his name, and he said, I've been a mess cook. He said. At the time he said, and what they're feeding you isn't what the Army issues. He said, I'm going to investigate this, and he did. And he came back and said, you'll be getting your rations now. He said, they had Koreans cooking, and they were selling the food on the black market that we were supposed to be feeding us and feeding us rice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they got that straightened out. And so I have to say that from that point on was good. But we were in the field a lot, so we ate out of either if they didn't deliver it, we had rations, that we drew.
Okay. Did you get any shots while you were in there?
What was that?
You get any shots in the arm while you're there? In basic?
Yeah. Yes, when I was going to get shipped overseas, and I think I got 8 shots at one time, and in both sides. You just walk down the line, and they give you shots.
Have a little hard time lifting your arms for a few
Oh
minutes?
yeah, and of course, but we went through it so fast, but you get all those shots at one time, your arms would get sore.
Yeah.
But no, it was they informed you what was going to happen. I mean, so it wasn't any surprise. So I guess I have to say that under the conditions there were, that they did a good job.
Okay. Did you have a graduation, like a parade or anything?
We didn't have we did not have a graduation ceremony, but well, I shouldn't say that we did, but we weren't. We were did have a. They did have a ceremony where they told us what gave us a piece of paper telling us that you'd been through the training and everything, and so it was. I'm trying to.
So where'd you go from Arkansas? Did you go to AIT and advanced?
What's that?
Did you do any advanced training after basic?
Yeah, then I went to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, and the Signal Corps.
Signal Corps.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was in, and then from there I was sent to Korea.
Well, Signal Corps. Now, you were there training. As,
oh yeah.
You do flags?
Yeah,
or?
I had. I'm trying to think of how many weeks. Several weeks of. Actually,
you were about 8 weeks long.
Yeah.
And
it was. I kind of liked electronics, and I'd been involved with so much in that, so.
So you were in the electronics part of the Signal.
Yes.
Okay, with radios or?
Yeah.
Okay.
We installed radios, and we in vehicles, and had a big transmitter site and they were moving the transmitter site from Japan to Korea at the time, so I got involved in that, and it was interesting because they had a big coax cable, that they ran to the transmitter, and of course that was just an invitation to the Koreans. So while we were trying to get it all set up, they were cutting chunks out of the cable, and running off with it.
Trying to get the copper.
Yes, and we had the sergeant we had. He said, that they don't realize what they're doing. He said, but we had I was with him. We recorded 8th Army conferences and civil affairs conferences, and the civil affairs conference was, what do you think you're doing? We're doing this for your protection, and then you're destroying it, you got so much and we don't have anything. That was kind of their answer,
So I'm going to go back here a little bit, Jim. How did you get to Korea? Was it plane, boat?
I got there by plane, and then, but we went to Okinawa, flew to Okinawa, and then from there to Korea.
Okay.
So it was.
Was it a little warm in Okinawa?
Yeah. And we weren't there that long, but just long enough so he'd been there, and then of course they said, well, you know, uh, have you ever been to Hawaii? Yes, I said, I was there twice. We had it was one of our stops on the way to Korea. They stopped in Hawaii, picked up some troops, and then they had, when we left there, then they had trouble with the plane, so they had to return. So I said, I've been there twice.
I'll bet you them guys picked up in Hawaii to go to Korea were a little disgruntled, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, and that was the thing, and of course they'd had some MiGs fly over, you know, and so they were, you know, had to go into well, they're in the basements is what they were, just for protection, and yeah, no, it was interesting. I can't remember this stuff 60 years ago. So.
Yeah, they were MiGs from North Korea, I suppose, huh?
Yeah. They came, and they're the DMZ between North Korea and where we were, you know. But then, and of course, that was interesting because we got. I got a security clearance, a top security clearance, so I was.
Okay. So
That bad, huh?
With those radios, did you have secured radios too?
We had. They said they were secured radios, and we had a master sergeant that came on with his little. He had a little box that he could pick up all frequencies, you know, so he could tell if they were, and he could transmit from that too to find out what, you know. So they were checking on us constantly because they were worried, you know, that we were going to be, they were going to, and then they always warned you about, you know, don't say anything over the radio that you don't have to say.
Right. Did you work on the radios too then?
Yeah, I was a radio repairman.
So you were a radio repairman then, yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to have an FCC license to do that?
No.
You're military trained?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And how long did you do that in Korea?
Well, I was in Korea from July of '57 to August of '58.
So you're there 11 months, or 12, 13 months, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was the food in Korea?
You know, it was, we got rice when we first got there, and then we got a new first sergeant, and he said, I was a mess sergeant, I said, and he said, this isn't the rations that they're drawing for you, I'm going to check it out, and he did. And what the Koreans were selling, they hired Korean cooks, which they weren't supposed to do either, you know, but they had the Korean cooks, and they were selling our rations on the black market and feeding us rice. So we got rice 3 times a day. So
That's kind of a theme with you with the rice, isn't it?
yeah, well, I didn't eat rice for quite a while after I got out.
Right. So the food wasn't great.
No.
Yeah.
It wasn't that food. The government supplied good food, so if we were out in the field and stuff, so we drew field rations. That was better.
So was that K rations or C rations?
Yeah,
or?
both K rations, C rations,
okay.
depending on.
So, and what else did you get to tour South Korea at all when you were there?
Did I what?
Get the tour around, go around South Korea, see?
Yeah, we did some of that, and part of it was that I was we had to tour the bases to make sure that they were secure, you know. So and that was always interesting because you'd come to they'd have a gate, you know, but the only ones that were the Turks, they didn't have any gates at all. All they had was a guard, and you'd go into their compound. And I said, how come of that? Well, he said the Koreans know if they go in on Turk property, he said they're not coming out. They're coming out in a box. So he
yeah.
said.
So other than the MiGs flying over, was there any other hostile actions while you're there?
No, just mostly flyovers, and then of course they had. While I was there, they put on demonstrations, mostly to impress the local people. That you know that. So they did. They had a bomber take out a tank, you know, a dead tank. They hit that, and then they had 306. What are they? 306 recoilless rifles that they had on jeeps.
Yep. Yeah.
And they shot one truck and one tank with that, and that was just a ball of flame when that. And of course, they warned us when they're going to shoot the 106 that, you know, don't, you know, it's just as dangerous behind that as in front of it because of it. And so, you know, don't just stay away from it.
Right.
But then they had an ammunition trailer that they had pulled in, and they were supposed to have it a certain distance behind the guns, you know, but they didn't get it quite far enough back, and when they fired the thing off, they blew up that whole trailer of ammunition. So that was exciting.
Okay. What else about Korea do you remember that you'd like to share?
Well, I was treated well there, and of course I was in the 304th Signal Battalion, which was, I thought, well, I'm going to Korea and I'll be laying in the mud, but I was at the 304th Signal Battalion, and I was treated very, very well the whole time I was there. And we had Katusas, you know, the Korean training with us, so any job that nobody else wanted to do, they gave that job to the Katusas. So they were glad to do it because they drew pretty good salary working for the American government. So
Sure. Did you have any Republic of Korea soldiers? Did you work with any of them?
that had been the Katusas, the Koreans.
That's what they'd be?
Yeah,
Okay. Because when they came to Vietnam, they were pretty nasty.
yeah, yeah,
They were some hardcore people.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And of course, they were all there because they wanted to be. They weren't drafted, so.
Right. So did you pull any guard duty or anything like that?
Well, I wasn't supposed to pull guard duty, but I did because I had a top security clearance, and they had in the headquarters building they had I'm trying to think of the name of it. It was a security free camera, you know, our radios. So I did work out of there, and but that was whatever you did there. They were right on top of you. So there was they didn't take any chances. And of course what happened every once in a while, you know, they'd alert, and then everybody would have an assignment. And one of my assignments at that time, and I don't know why, but I was supposed to man a machine gun in the middle of the parade field. You know, at the place you just wouldn't want to be if they were.
Right.
But that's where I was, and that was. I wasn't. They did bomb the area, but what they bombed was the motor pool. They took the motor pool out.
Who bombed it?
the
North
North
Koreans?
Koreans.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was anybody killed or?
We had three. We had three that were seriously injured, and I think one killed. So.
That must have caused some repercussions, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Did our side do anything back or?
Well, they retaliated with what they had, but we were they the South Koreans, they were supposed to be fighting the war, but mostly they were hiding someplace. So America did the fighting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to add about Korea while you're there?
Well,
What was your rank?
I went in as a specialist, first class, and came out second class specialist. Actually, what, E3?
E3?
Yeah.
Okay. PFC, I think they call it?
PFC was E2.
Okay.
Private was E1, and PFC E2, and then specialist was E3.
I think you were an E4, maybe. I bet you.
I should have that down here someplace.
That's okay. But if you were a specialist, I think you'd be an E4.
Yeah, I was specialist.
Yep.
I volunteered for the draft. 56 was sent to Fort Chaffee Officer Basic Training. I was sent to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, 6 months of electronics school. Graduated and was sent to the 304th Signal Battalion in Korea. I was given a top security clearance and assigned to the 8th Army headquarters in Seoul, Korea. There I installed and serviced their intercom system and also recorded 8th Army conferences and civil affairs conferences.
Yep. On here it says Spec 4 James Johnson.
Yeah.
So you're a specialist.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
What's that?
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
And so you get down in Korea, how'd you get home? By plane again?
No. No. They flew me over there, but you came home on a tugboat. Well, just about a tugboat. So and then they went up through the Aleutian chain, coming home.
The islands?
Yeah, so they had to, and picked up some more troops up there, and so no, they weren't worried too much about getting you home. Getting you over there was what was important.
Right. How many days did it take you to get home?
I think it was just about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
And what port did you come into? You remember?
Oh yeah, I should remember.
Was it on the West Coast? Or
On the
East
West Coast, yes.
West Coast. San Francisco, maybe?
What's that?
San Francisco?
We stopped and let troops off at San Francisco, and then we went south from there. And I got off at Oakland, I think.
Oakland, there you go. Okay. Yeah. And so were you discharged from there?
No, I was. It was just about that time they were having some issues, so they froze all the releases, so we couldn't be released. We had to stay there. So I was for 2 weeks there, just waiting to get okay to be released, because they
Some more hurry up and wait, huh?
yeah.
Yeah. And so after 2 weeks, did they release you?
Yeah.
So they mustered you out?
Yeah.
Okay. And so...
Here's my picture of when they
Right.
released me. I thought that was important to have a picture of that.
Yeah, and it says you were ready reserves from 58 to 60, standby reserves 60 to 62, and discharged October of 62.
Yeah,
So where did you went home? I take it.
yeah, yeah.
So what'd you do after you got out?
Back to farming.
Back to farming? How many years did you farm?
Till they kicked me out.
Roughly?
Oh, I should have that down here someplace.
You've been retired for a few years then.
Oh, yes, yeah. I wish I could.
It's
I
not
just
a big-
can't remember. But I actually considered maybe staying in the military, but then I had a girlfriend back home that didn't think that that would be good, so so that helped sway my decision.
Love took over, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything you want to add, Jim, about your military service?
Well, I was treated very well in the military. I got was sent to 6 months of electronic school, and from there I was stationed where I used my training, and so I think that I can't think of any really negative things except that they would surprise you once in a while, with well, now we're going to do this, and which you hadn't prepared for. So, but no, I was treated well in the service. I can't complain at all about it.
Good. So you're a Legion member?
Yes.
And how many years have you been a Legion member?
Well,
Quite a few.
quite a few. Yeah. I was in what did they call it? Something service. Anyway, yes, I did. I joined the Legion almost right away because because of the benefits that they had. They were pretty good benefits if you belonged to the Legion.
Sure. With the VA and
Yeah.
so forth.
Through VA, that's what I was hunting for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to add, Jim?
No, I don't know. I have really no bitter feelings about being in the military. I was treated well.
Good. Good. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for doing this interview, and I want to thank you for your service.
Well,
Thank you very much.
I have to say that I think I enjoyed my service.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. Thank you, Jim.
Yep.